to the Madison Miller Podcast special edition show, the 2023-24 college basketball predictions. This is part 4, and this is going to be the Big-12. So a very interesting league for sure. So bigger league with new teams in it. And then obviously next year is going to be monster with 2 big boys leaving with some Pac-12 cast-offs coming in. So that's another story for another day. So without further ado, 2023-24 Big 12 standing predictions. All right, in first place, I have the Kansas Jayhawks. I mean, they're the team to beat in this league. Hunter Dickinson comes over from Michigan. Kevin McClure Jr. is there. DeJuan Harris is still there. Bill Self is obviously the best coach in the country. So, they're the team to beat. No doubt about it. In second, I have the Texas Longhorns. I like this Texas team a lot. They are loaded. Max Abmas is back. Tyrese Hunter, Dylan Mitchell, Dylan Disu. So they have a really nice Big Four. Rodney Terry got the full-time gig, which he absolutely deserved. Coming in third, I have the Houston Cougars. They come over from the AAC. They had a fabulous year last year, but we'll see if the move to the Big 12 makes it a little bit more difficult for them. Jamal Sneed, LJ Cryer. Cryer, obviously a transfer from Baylor that comes over, and then she's a really good player as well. And Kelvin Sampson is one heck of a coach. Coming in fourth, I have the Baylor Bears. They do lose Cryer, and they do lose Keontae George, which is a big deal. But they get Ray J. Davis as a transfer. Jacoby Walker's a good freshman coming in, and then Jalen Bridges is still there as well. And Scott Drew is an outstanding coach. Fifth, I have TCU. TCU is Emmanuel Miller, but they really don't have much else. They do lose Mike Miles Jr. and they do lose Damian Bogg. But they had a good year last year. We'll see if they're good again this year. Kansas State, I have in sixth. Tyler Perry, good transfer coming in, and Arthur Kaluma still there as well. Jerome Tang was awesome in year one. They lose Marquise Noel and Keontae Johnson, which is a big deal. So I think there's a possibility that this program takes a step back, as they were a 3 seed a year ago. Seventh, I have West Virginia. This program has a chance to be a dumpster fire this season, obviously, with Bob Huggins leaving. Josh Eilert is the intern. So that's not ideal. They had a bad year last year in conference, but they still made the tournament. They were a 9 seed, for crying out loud. And now this team is just not very good. Like I said, Jesse Edwards comes in from Syracuse, and then they get Kirk Carissa of Arizona. So yeah, this team, who the hell knows? But I do think the transfers coming in are big deals for sure. Iowa State, I have an 8th. Iowa State, really was riding high, and they kind of fell apart a little bit, and they lost to Pitt in the tournament. TJ Otzelberger in year 3. They have some okay transfers coming in, which is good, and some freshmen too. Omaha Ballou is a good freshman they have coming in. Ninth, I have Texas Tech. Texas Tech kind of fallen from grace a little bit. They were bad last year. Mark Adams got fired, as we know. It says that he resigned, but they really fired him. Grant McCaslin is now their coach. He comes over from North Texas. They lose Kevin Obner. They lose Elijah Fisher to DePaul. They lose a lot of other transfers as well. Drew Steffi's coming in. He's a good freshman that they have. 10th, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is another one of these random Big 12 teams. Mike Boynton's in year 7, which is amazing. A lot of good young players coming in, which is a big deal. Bryce Thompson's still there. He obviously came over from Kansas. They did lose a lot of transfers, which isn't very good. So maybe this team could be better than expected with the young talent coming in. 11th, I have Oklahoma. Porter Moser's in year 3 there. They did not make the tournament last year. They lose Grant Sherfield and Tanner Groves to the draft. They lost a lot of transfers, but they do get some transfers, though. They have some B-level recruits coming in, which is good. Coming in 12th, I have the BYU Cougars, newcomer to the conference. Mark Pope's in year 5. They have some roster turnover going on as well. 13th, I have Cincinnati. Obviously, newcomers to the conference. Were contenders in the American for a long time. Wes Miller in year 3. They lose a lot of good, talented players. They have some good guards coming in that are recruits. CJ Frederick, good transfer coming in for them. And in the cellar of UCF. UCF's clearly the worst team in this conference, in my opinion. Johnny Dawkins in year 8. But they were in the NIT last year, which is pretty good for them. But they were in the American. It's going to be harder to make the NIT in the Big 12, that's for sure. They lose Taylor Hendricks, which is a big deal. That's the biggest reason why they're in the NIT. CJ Walker is a good player that they have on their roster still. He can carry them in some games. All right, so award player of the year. I'm going to go with Hunter Dickinson of Kansas. I think he is the best transfer player in the entire country. He's simply amazing, and I think he'll lead the way for Kansas. And we know Bill Self's history with big men. Coach of the year, Rodney Terry of Texas. I think that Rodney Terry is going to do an outstanding job this year. First full year on the job, a ton of pressure. And they gave him that extension. And then freshman of the year, Jacoby Walker of Baylor. He's just somebody that I think is going to come in and make an instant impact for the Bears right away. Bold prediction for this conference. I'm going to say that the Mountaineers of West Virginia overcome adversity and they make the tournament. It'll be a barely. They'll be on the bubble, but they'll pick off some teams at home in Morgantown, probably in conference play. And with the depth of this conference, especially at the top, maybe 1 or 2 big upset wins and they get in, kind of like last year, but except without Bob Huggins. And that's also a huge Ewing theory in the Big 12 this year. We didn't even do Ewing theory in the Big 10, but Hunter Dickinson's obviously one for Michigan if they are to be good. All right, so tournament, I have Kansas, Texas, Houston, Baylor, TCU, Kansas State, and West Virginia. NIT, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and maybe BYU. I'm going to say BYU's right there, but BYU will be in the CIT or something like that. Coach on the hottest seat. This is a hard one. I mean, obviously, the default answer would be Elard at West Virginia because he's an intern. But I think they'll have a real coach potentially next year, even if they do make the tournament. But I genuinely believe that they have the talent to do it. So Elard's obvious. I think Boynton at Oklahoma State is a good hot seat coach. Maybe Mark Pope at BYU if they're not happy. And the obvious one is Johnny Dawkins at UCF. He's been there a really long time now. Bounce back team in this conference. I mean, West Virginia, in a weird way, would make sense. Even though they did make the tournament. But that's a hard call for, like, a bounce-back team. I mean, could it be Oklahoma? Maybe. I could see a world where it's Oklahoma. Baylor's good almost every year. I mean, Kansas last season, lost in the second round. So on paper, in theory, Kansas recovering from their tournament loss, kind of in a bounce back, kind of like Purdue in a way. Like recovering from their second round tournament loss in that case. I think Kansas State takes a step back, but is still in the mix for the tournament. Obviously, BYU is going to take a step back, and so will UCF for their transition. I think Houston will be good, but I think there's a possibility that they underachieve a little bit this year because they are facing tougher competition. But we'll see with the Big 12, and now we'll do futures in that league. So Kansas is plus 175, Houston's 4-1, Texas is 7-1, TCU's plus 750, Baylor's 10, Texas 12, Kansas State's 15, Iowa State's 20, BYU's 30, Cincy's 40, Oklahoma State's 50, West Virginia and Oklahoma are 75, and UCF is 100-1. Holy crap, are they down on West Virginia? I don't think they're going to win the conference, but there's no way that BYU, Cincinnati should have better odds than them, or shorter odds than them to win the conference. But I think there's value on Kansas State at 15-1. They have some guys coming back from last year's team. And they have Tyler Perry coming in as the transfer. So Kansas State's the value pick at 15-1. But I really love Texas at 7-1. I would bet on that, actually. They're loaded. So I'm going to say Texas 7-1 for like over 5-1, but double-digit odds. Kansas State 15-1 for sure. All right, I did talk about a little bit of Ewing theory stuff with West Virginia without Bob Huggins. Baylor without Keontae George is a good one. Kansas without Grady Dick and Jalen Wilson. Texas without Chris Beard is a good one from like a coach standpoint. UCF without Taylor Hendricks would be absolutely insane. Houston without Marcus Sasser and Jarris Walker obviously is the other one that you need to watch. Kansas State without Keontae Johnson and Marquise Noel. So there's a lot of good Ewing theory potential in the Big 12. So there you have it for the Big 12. Next up will be the Pac-12.